As Melbourne reels after its second CBD emergency in less than a year, concerns are being raised about the state of Victoria's mental health services. This year began with carnage in Melbourne's Bourke Street Mall. On Thursday, there was more chaos and distress for people in central Melbourne when a car ploughed into multiple pedestrians outside the busy Flinders Street train station. Within hours of this week's attack, Acting Chief Commissioner Shane Patton said the driver, 32-year-old Saidero, was known to have a history of drug use and mental health issues. Police said Mr. Uro was receiving voluntary treatment under a mental health plan. The nature of Mr. Uro's alleged problems remain unknown. But every year, 1 in 5 Australians will have a mental illness, and many service providers say the system set up to help them is fundamentally broken. The national peak body representing the mental health sector, Mental Health Australia, said often mental illness provides an explanation that the public can accept to help them deal with something that is incomprehensible. But the group said the terminology and the ready explanation of mental illness could do more harm than good for the millions of Australians who struggle with mental health problems and are more often the victims of violence than the perpetrators. Mental Health Australia is not the only organisation warning that Australia's mental health system is in crisis. Executive Director of Origin and former Australian of the Year Professor Patrick M.C. Gorey said while only a subsection of people with mental health illnesses posed a serious risk to the community, people were falling through the cracks of a broken system. We are currently only able to cover 1% of the Victorian population for serious mental illness. Serious mental illness affects 3% of the population, so we are functioning on 3 cylinders at the moment, he said. Professor M.C. Gorey said this week's carnage in central Melbourne highlighted a problem the sector had known needed addressing for years. I feel absolutely devastated and very, very angry, as we have been saying this for years, that this is a problem that should be fixed, he said. Victorian Alcohol and Drug Association Chief Executive Sam Biondo said treatment programs were beset by long waiting lists. We have seen in this instance the person had a mental health and a drug issue. Law and order is going to solve that problem. The solution to that lies in community services on the ground, he said. Talk to any first responders and what they do when they have a person with alcohol and drugs. They end up in an emergency department and then they come back out into the community. Mental health organisation Beyond Blue said research consistently showed people with mental health conditions were more likely to be victims of crime than perpetrators. People who experience mental health conditions are no more violent than other people. Criminality should not be confused with mental illness, the organisation said in a statement. Victorian opposition leader Matthew Guy said the state's mental health services need to be examined.